It's the Brad and John Show.
The Brad and John Show for what day is today, John? What day is today?
It is 24/7 day. And you know what, Brad? I was looking at your editorial calendar. You know, you do a lot of long-range planning for the radio station. And I saw that on July 23rd, you would introduce and manufacture a concept called 24/7 day, which is awesome. Everybody gets one whole day to prepare for this holiday.
Excuse me, I had to take a sip of my Mountain Dew because I had to get my energy up for the B block or the C block, which is July 24th.
The continuation of the B block, though.
Okay,
right?
yeah. Let's pick up where I left off. Okay, first off, we'll do an abbreviated.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
I won't play the whole thing, but what we'll do is we'll do this.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
So yesterday, I'm listening to the Mark Reardon show, which doesn't have Mark Reardon on anymore. And Mark, I'm telling you, whatever I can do to help you out, I will. And I've texted.
Wait, what's going on with him?
I really can't talk about it.
Okay. So and he hasn't said it online?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so he's dealing with some kind of a health thing. Okay, got it.
Yes. And Pastor Brad is saying prayers for you, Mark. Okay.
Gotcha.
They have Bob Onder on, former member of the Nutbag Caucus in the state of Missouri. And they have breaking news. The breaking news is that Bob Onder has come up with MEGA. And you know what MEGA stands for, John?
Yeah, because I read johncombest.com every morning. What does it stand for, though, Brad?
Make entertainment great again. And what Bob Onder is saying, he wants to rename the Kennedy Center the Donald J. Trump Performing Arts Center. And he goes into this tirade about, and unfortunately, I know more about this than I should, because over the weekend, I heard Ben Folds. You know who Ben Folds is?
Yeah, Ben Folds 5.
Exactly. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Ben Folds has a fairly successful concert series at the Kennedy Center where he plays popular music with the symphony orchestra and stuff like that. Okay, and Ben Folds is about a biggest Trump fan as I am about the Freedom Caucus. He hates the Trumps.
Yeah, he's been writing pro-abortion material since the mid-'90s. The song, "She's a brick and I'm falling slowly," is about getting an abortion.
Yes, okay. So I'm thinking to myself, Bob Onder, you have fallen to a new low. I mean, we have all these issues to deal with. Why are we talking about the Kennedy Center? First off, government people, listen to me. Look at what the private sector has done, okay? We don't have just things they're named anymore, like, you know, the Fifth Street Stadium. It's naming rights, people. Naming rights. Don't just call it the one I get all the time is the Highway 19 bridge down there in Herman. Don't call it the Christopher Kit Bond Bridge. Sell the naming rights. Have it be the Pepsi-Cola bottling company of New Haven Bridge across Missouri River. And instead of, and the other thing is my complaint about, we used to have this bridge in downtown St. Louis called the Bernard F. Dickman Bridge. And then one day we found out it's not the Bernard F. Dickman Bridge. It's the William H. Clay Sr. Memorial Bridge. Okay, if you're going to name something and you're going to name it after a former president, there should be something in the rules that state you can't change the name unless you're going to sell the naming rights. You could be like the Kansas City Chiefs, who, by the way, have two names to the stadium. Do you know that? It's like Arrowhead Field, and the stadium is called something, and then
it's like Geha.
Yeah, and the field is actually called the Gia.
Yeah. So let's not divert too far, Brad. So you were criticizing Bob Onder.
I'm thinking, come on. I mean, who cares?
Okay, let me interrupt, Brad. So here's an alternate point of view. We're taking the name of a Democrat president, John F. Kennedy, and we're replacing it with a Republican, and I'm sure some people will be offended by that. Brad, I'm on Congressman Bob Onder's congressional website, and in the last 6 weeks, he has introduced the Self-Insurance Protection Act, which is to protect the ability of America's small businesses, something that you claim to support, Brad, to choose the best health insurance plan for them and their employers. He has he sponsored the Shared Property Agency Collaboration and Engagement Act of 2025. I'm not up on that, Brad, so I don't really know what that is. He's weighing in on pro-life issues. He also introduced something that you claim to care about, Brad, Pilot and Aircraft Privacy Act, aka PAPA. So, Brad, I think if Bob Onder went to D.C. and the only thing that he did was introduce the idea of renaming a Democrat facility after a Republican, I think it would be fair to criticize him. But in the last 6 weeks, it looks like he's had at least some movement as a first-year congressman on real legislation.
John, you know what? He blew it. He blew it by talking about this stupid mega thing. See,
So we're going to judge somebody by one piece of legislation that you think is symbolic instead of their body of work their first 6 months as a congressman.
Okay, let's rephrase it. Who's one of your sports heroes? Give me one of your sports heroes.
Tommy Herr.
Okay, you find out that Tommy Herr is really a communist who was brought here to the United States by the Russians and who's spying and is taking our nuclear bomb secrets and taking them back to Moscow. Would you be a Tommy Herr fan still?
Yeah, he had 110 RBIs in 1985,
Okay.
And I will always be a Tommy Herr fan.
Okay.
He could come out and say that he supports KFUO in their battle against Brad Hildebrand, and I would still love Tommy Herr.
See, here is where there's a big picture item here. This is where our government has gone astray. Why do we have a government-sponsored performing arts center?
Love that argument, Brad, and I completely agree. There's no but there. I completely agree.
It's like, why? And to the point where people go, well, it brings culture. Okay, you know what? We live in a country where we have all these different channels on TV. And back in the cable days, you had all these cables channel. You had the History Channel, which taught you about history.
Yeah, you had the Discovery Channel where you learn about animal mating.
Right. And then you had TLC, the Learning Channel. And what are they doing now? They're doing reality shows where you see some guy who's rebuilding a kayak that he found that his grandfather, or you see the housewives of St. Louis County and stuff like that.
Yeah, or you see a couple with a combined income of $50,000 house hunting for $1 million home in town and country. Brad, speaking of reality shows, I heard a rumor that you have a Bill Eigel story from yesterday.
Well, let me just finish the Bob Onder thing.
Okay.
See, to me, Bob Onder is, I have respect for the guy because, see, there are two things that I always respect people that have a D after their name. And the 3 Ds are MD, PhD, and JD, okay? Maybe in that order, okay? I have respect for people who are doctors, lawyers, and scholars for the most part, not the
and like Joe Biden. Yeah.
Not Dr. Jill, yes. She's got an EDD degree. Hers is
and
not
Brad,
a PhD.
you're biased because you have 2 valuable journalism degrees.
Which are worthless. Okay. See, I appreciate that kind of stuff. Bob,
but okay, enough of the preamble. Let's go.
Bob is 2 of the 3. He's a JD and is an MD. He's a doctor and he's a lawyer.
Okay.
Okay. He's demeaning himself because this is just kissing Trump's butt. Hey, Mr. Trump, I'm Bob Onder. I'm this nutbag Freedom Caucus guy from Missouri. I want you to know, yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here, President. Yeah, President. I want to name this after you. Yes, you, Mr. Trump. We don't want that old John F. Kennedy guy. He didn't do anything. He didn't face down the Ruskies in the Cuban Missile Crisis. He didn't do anything. He had affairs in the White House. He was swimming in the White House pool with women who were naked. We need to name it after you, who's led a chaste life, who if you've never had any affairs with any women and you've never said anything bad about women, that's what we need to do. We need the center after you. How's that, John?
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember the month of June in which Brad Hildebrand was applauding the fact that we were focusing on renaming national parks, national monuments, going back to the pre-Obama and pre-Biden era.
But see,
so I'm old enough to remember when naming things after certain historical figures or landmarks was important to you.
No.
And now that Bob Onder wants to replace a Democrat president name with a Republican president name, suddenly you're offended. Meanwhile, you ignore all the other legislation that Bob Onder has pushed forward just in the last 6 weeks, Brad.
You're missing my point that they renamed things. They renamed all the bases because we can't have it be Fort Bragg because Fort Bragg was a Confederate general. Trump put these back to the original names.
You're exactly right. And speaking of going back, let's fulfill a promise that you made in A Block, which is finally you will tell your Bill Eigel story, Brad. I don't believe in teasing something and then not following through, right? It's like your high school girlfriends. If you're going to say you're going to get something at the end, let's get something, right?
Okay. So yesterday,
Don't choose your words carefully, Brad. Go ahead and let it all out.
I'm trying to find the here it is. I'm trying to find. Now you get mad at me when I
Did you annoy him by like texting him or reaching out to him or something?
I tried to sell him the 24/7.
Oh God. You don't use my name when you do this, do you?
I do not. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think it would be bad if I read his text, what he sent to me?
You're going to anyway. You want to blow up the relationship, and that you want to have like a main event final conflict with him. So just have it out, Brad.
Okay, let me give you my day. I was sort of burnt out on my usual fast food places, so I thought to myself, I'm going to go to Steak and Shake. I've been to Steak and Shake in a while, which was an experience.
Did you go on Jungerman Road?
No, I went to the one in Natural Bridge, out by the airport. Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a brave guy, John.
Good
So
grief.
I go in, and the dining room is the same as always, but there's no hostess there. It's
Were
nothing.
you the only white person there?
No, there was quite a few white people in there. Matter of fact, there were some people of all sorts of colors. There was an Asian people in there. There were some brown people. So I felt right at home.
So you were somehow this leads to Bill Eigel. Go ahead.
Right. I go in and I see the nice dining room, and I'm thought to myself, I'm not going to sit in my car. I'm going to sit down and have a meal. And I realized that, I forgot, Steak and Shake doesn't have people that work here anymore. It's all kiosks. So you go in and you go to the kiosk and you order your food, and actually it was a pretty good deal. It was cheaper. What I got was cheaper than what you buy Chick-fil-A, but that's a whole other story. So I sit down and they call my name. You type your name in, and I go over and I got my cup, and I go over to the soda fountain to fill my cup, and none of the soda fountains work. You push the things in and nothing comes out. And I say to the guy,
is there a chase, and when can we cut to it?
Okay, well, here, I'm getting to that. Okay, so I keep pushing all the soda things, and I say to the guy behind the counter, I go, the soda things don't work. He says, you got to scan your receipt. On your receipt, there's a QR code, and there's a scanner by where the soda fountain is, and you have to scan your receipt in order for the soda machine to work. I'm going like, wow, we've got progress.
Oh my God,
here.
that's hilarious. And how does Bill Eigel come in?
Because I sit down and Bill Eigel texts me, and it's not a nice text. I won't read it. It's not a nice text. He's accusing me of saying bad things about him. Now, John, he's a member of a former member of the Wackadoodle Caucus. When have I ever said anything bad about Bill Eigel? Never.
All the time. You besmirch him all the time on this show, Brad.
So this is like at 12:30. So I have a 1:30 meeting out in O'Fallon. And my 1:30 meeting happens to be at Panera. I'm meeting somebody there to talk some business at Panera. And so I sit down at my table, I pick a table, and I look over to my left, and guess who's sitting to my left?
Bill Eigel.
Bill Eigel, the guy.
Well, that's nice. So you could finally have a real, instead of besmirching him on the air, if you have an issue with him, you could call him the nutbag caucus to his face.
So I went over, and he looked at me, and his eyes locked in mine. He goes, you know what? I like J.C. Corcoran. I want to hear the sound of your face being crunched by my fist. No, he didn't.
Did he really say that?
No, he was really nice.
Oh, okay.
I shook his hand, and I go, Bill, it's nice talking to you in person, and I'm really not a bad guy after all. And he's sitting there with some woman talking or something. I don't know what they were talking about. And he started laughing. He says, hey, Brad, how you doing? Hi, fine, Bill. Good to see you. And I went back and sat at my table. That was my story. That was it.
Oh, okay, because in A Block, you made it seem as though you had, like, there was some big argument or something with him, and you guys will never speak again or something like that.
Well, he did ask me to send him a clip of the show where I discussed the Freedom Caucus guys, and he wants me to send him a clip of the show. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? He can just listen. You know what I'm saying? He can just listen.
Well,
right?
yeah, but we also, I mean, you talk about them every time abortion comes up or every time a statewide issue comes up. You take the opportunity to criticize Bill Eigel by name and blame him for pro-choice legislation and other things you don't like.
You know why that is, John?
Why is that, Brad?
I want to say, can we all get along? Can we get along?
That's why, John.
I can't hear it on my end.
Hold it. I'll play it again.
I want to say, can we all get along? Can we get along?
That's what I say. That's what I say.
I
right
think
there.
what's good about it, Brad, is that you talk about people and then people hear it. And if, I think Bill was right to reach out to you and be like, hey, I heard you talk about this. What's your problem?
But see, here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing is that John is the guy that says nobody listens to radio anymore. And I always find it interesting that people say they don't listen to radio anymore. But if I talk about them, they say, hey, you talked about me in your show. I said, I thought nobody listened to radio anymore.
And how do they hear about your comments, Brad?
How do they hear about my comments?
Yeah, like if you would talk about, well, I shouldn't say that. On previous shows, if you would talk about people, it was kind of like speaking in the woods, right? Like, I mean, would people hear it?
John, I know where you're heading, and it's because you have become the salvation in my life. I'm this guy who's walking down this path thinking that people actually have radios in their cars, and they still listen to radio, and it's still a part of the day. But you have informed me that nobody gives a poop about this show. Nobody listens. Nobody has a radio anymore. And the only salvation for you and I doing this show is because John promotes it. That's I know the whole story.
Absolutely not. Thanks to your work, Brad, we can hear 104.5 FM everywhere that KFUO is not interfering.
Which is everywhere. John, so you're telling me that my Bill Eigel story was a letdown? Is that what you're telling me?
I thought there would be a big blowout. It seems like two men just have a disagreement about the Freedom Caucus, and it's not a big deal. I think if I'm Bill Eigel, I'm focused on winning a St. Charles County election, and I look at Brad Hildebrand's comments as, that's an interesting observation from a political amateur and outsider.
I am an amateur. I've had my ham radio license since I was 13, and I am an outsider
hey, but at least
as well,
tomorrow's
too.
Friday, though, right, Brad?
I'm a proud outsider because remember what Rodney Dangerfield said? Or no,
what did he used to say, Brad?
It was Groucho Marx. He said, "I would never want to be a member of a club that would have me as a member." So
I love that quote, Brad.
Yeah. Okay, talk to you later, John.
See you tomorrow, Brad.